Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are one of the only anime podcasts that always keeps you on your toes with when will it release?
Yes.
But when we do release, we are an anime podcast that watches a show and talks about it like we're a book club, and we turn that discussion over to you. I need the help of my co-host to talk about today's anime, which is Dandadan. Let me introduce them. First off, we have the delicious butter dip to my crab meat, Jeremy, with his anime hot take.
Okay, I actually thought about one. I'm ready. Formulaic is good if the formula is good. No. If the formula is satisfying, formulaic is good. Okay, there. That's what I wanted to say. Like Creed and Nickelback and Creepy Nuts.
Oh, okay. I would have never lumped those two. I don't know enough. Okay. Yeah,
I have a feeling this is my comment of solo leveling being the Nickelback of anime.
Yes. Thank you for that. It gave me a hot take.
You know, solo leveling is going to come up in today's anime. I plan on it too. So you also, and probably because of you. Yeah.
As long as it's not Dandy, it's fine.
Okay, so now I'm adding an extra thing into the hot take. I want to hear people's thoughts on Nickelback because I feel like we all lied and pretend we didn't like Nickelback
right?
as a world. Like they had the number one song in the country at one point multiple times, and we're all like, no, we all hated that.
Yeah.
Did we
formulaic.
So I'm guessing you're fine with Nickelback.
Yeah,
Nickelback.
Good formula. Okay. All right, Jason. Oh, and then we have the fake green, not really authentic wasabi to my sushi. Jason.
Spicy.
It is good though.
Tendency rule, but there are exceptions. The longer the title, the worse the anime.
I mean, I could think of a certain princess anime that fits that very well.
That's not fair. That's just outside of our genres. But I agree.
Yes.
I think I generally agree only because it does annoy me the longer a title is. It's just the more it's just a run-on sentence explaining the plot, I just get frustrated with that. There's just no creativity there.
You have to write a paragraph for the title just to get people into the anime. Maybe there's some storytelling pitfalls here.
Hey, can't wait till we announce next episode's anime. Yeah. And my name is Troy. My anime hot take is that characters are the literally most important aspect of storytelling.
That's hot.
So hot.
Oh yeah, this is spicy.
Look, I just thought it up. I felt good about it. Okay.
Yeah, they are integral, but
I'm not getting paid for this, you know. I do this for free. You get what you buy. All right. So yeah, we are today talking about Dandadan. Let's go to our Let's talk about our non-spoiler reviews. Jason, why don't you kick us off?
This didn't sit too well with me. There's a lot to like here. The animation's beautiful. The writing's really clever. And the themes, like the overall story themes, are pretty good. I just don't like how some of it was executed, and I don't like some of the topics and how some of the jokes were told because they didn't feel very jokey to me. Also, it could just be me being the old man shaking my fist at the clouds. I have a hard time lately with stories that deal with underage kids. So, Yeah, I think there's a lot to like, but there was a lot here that I didn't particularly prefer.
Do you like the movie American Pie?
No.
Did you like the movie American Pie when you were the age of the characters in American Pie?
I didn't watch it when I was a kid.
I'm sorry, I asked the wrong person. I should have seen that coming. All right, Jeremy, your thoughts on Dandadan?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I do know where you're coming from, Jason. And in the first episode, I was a little uncomfortable with what they were doing and where they were going. But where it wound up, I was okay with, and to me, it just kind of came across as a joke at that point. And they carried the joke throughout, and they didn't have to necessarily, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. The characters are great. The world is really interesting. The dynamic between the enemies is interesting. And just the fact that they even take the time to dig into the backstory for throwaway enemies. Like, you don't see that very often in anime. Usually when you have, especially a low tier enemy that's just kind of coming in as a henchman, you normally just dispose of them and move on. But in this anime, they actually give them a bit of story, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot that I like about this anime, but we'll get into more of it after the spoilers are dropped.
Yeah, I walked away a fan. I don't think I'm on the same elation as, like, this was probably the most popular anime of the season when it came out. It's been a huge hit. I don't think I'm loving it as much as everyone else, but I definitely very, very much liked it, and looking forward to talking about it. There's a lot of cool things I think it does well. It wraps genres inside of genres, and it somehow pulls it off. Characters are very well written, and I enjoyed the action set pieces. I don't have much to complain about. Maybe a few nitpicks here and there. My biggest probably nitpick is that it felt very frenetic, moved very fast. What I assigned it to was, hey, I bet people who like to watch like TikTok videos or YouTube shorts or whatever your jam is, this fits very well, because it's like, hey, we're moving on to the next beat, we're moving on to the next beat, we're moving on to the next beat. It's holding that short attention span, very much a sign of the times and how storytelling is going these days, and there's not anything wrong with it. You got to meet your audience. For me, I like a little bit of a slower burn is my preference, but again, it's not really anything wrong with it. It's just, especially when you hit that first episode, I'm like, oh, we're just like all this right away. This could have been like 2-3 episodes of reveals, and we're just like bam, 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 dan, 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 dan. It's all there. So yeah, I that's probably my biggest nitpick, but like I said, I ended up very, very much enjoying it.
What are YouTube shorts?
It's that thing that you click disable on when you go to browse YouTube.
They're month-old TikTok videos.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
That's and I definitely fall into YouTube short rabbit holes from time to time. I try not to, but it definitely happens. And then I'll show it to my daughter. She's like, yeah, that was a TikTok a month ago, Dad. Dang it. And then a month later, my mom will send me a Facebook short video of the same one. So, just all in our age brackets. All right. Those are not spoiler review. Opening and closing. I'm sure we have a lot to say about this one. This was probably the opening of this anime was bigger than the anime itself when it came out. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, the OP is so mediocre. I'm just kidding. No, both of them. I love both of them. Troy, put the knife down. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, the animation and the music for the OP is fire. I loved it almost felt Studio Trigger-ish, but with like a higher polish to it. And then the ED is just fun. I love watching the hijinks of the cat. We'll just leave it at that for now. And also the ED, like, you get a little bit more appreciation of when you find out who the cat is. So
yeah.
And you end up watching the ED in a completely different context, and I like that.
Yeah, I actually didn't like the ED until I found out who the cat was, and then all of a sudden it had depth. The OP, I loved it from the first time I saw it. Fantastic, music's great, animation is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and the way that it presents the characters to you with that sort of heartbeat rhythm, that dun 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 dun, it's so it makes such an impact. It stays with you. It's funny because this anime has a character that, at least to me, is very reminiscent of Mob Psycho. And there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, oh, there's Mob, he's doing a mob thing, right? and it's totally not him, but even just the presentation in the OP, it just, I don't know. I got vibes, got the feels for all the cool anime that it reminds me of.
Oh, I'd seen the opening when it came out. My daughter ran in, made me watch it, and it was great then. Having watched the anime, I love both the hinting of everything that's coming without giving stuff away. We never see the full transformation of the character's, new form, but it keeps hinting at it and done through like a really quick, almost a pencil-like drawing of it.
Yeah.
Was really cool. The shots of all the characters, like you said, kind of expressing themselves face to face with the camera to give us a little bit of each personality. The hints of almost abstract versions of the villains we're going to meet, but not specific details of them. Very cool stuff. The ending, not only to add on what you said, not only did finding out who the cat is add context, but it adds context to the cat as well.
Oh yeah.
The fact that helping a kitten out of its box and then taking care of it, and then who doesn't love to watch cats headbang to rock music? That's pretty great. That wins me over every time. Like, yeah, okay, and little kittens doing it too. Yeah, they hit both out of the park. I think the OP is a lot better than the ED, but both were very enjoyable. All right, we're about to go into our spoiler section, but before we do, we're going to tell you what our next anime is. This is Jason's pick. It is The Most Notorious Talker Runs the World's Greatest Clan, and sometimes he goes to the store to buy rice for everybody, but then he has to take the bus home, and it makes him very tired, but he goes to bed early so that he can start the next day off great. I believe that's the whole title.
So we're in for a good one.
Okay.
That's a synopsis and title in the same one.
The Most Notorious Talker Runs the World's Greatest Clan is the title of it. I looked at the synopsis. It is the title, so I don't know what else to tell you. Fantasy action comedy?
It seems that way. It just came out, so.
Okay. All right. So that's what we'll be talking about next. So now it is time for our spoiler section. If you have not seen Dandadan, now is the time to decide if you want to or if you are okay with us spoiling it. But that from here on out, there will be no holding back on the spoilers. So you have officially been warned, and I will not be told otherwise. Jason.
Wait, we dropped spoiler, right?
Maybe. No.
Who knows?
Take a chance.
Before we start, the manga writer for this also worked on, he's not the main writer, he was an assistant on Chainsaw Man manga and Hell's Paradise.
Oh my god.
No kidding.
So a lot of influences, I'm sure, from those two. What I've heard is that when he submitted stories for publication, they were like, these are really dark. You have a really dark imagination. I definitely saw that in one of the flashbacks of one of the villains. And it had only featured the female protagonist, and they were like, you got to add the male protagonist. And he's like, I don't know how to make a male and a female character interact well. And they're like, okay, go read 100 romance mangas. And he did. And then he came back and he wrote Dandadan. And to me, that's great because I think at its core, this is a romance anime wrapped in a gag comedy anime presented as an action anime, and it somehow makes it work on all three levels.
With hints of horror.
Strong hints of horror, yeah.
Yeah.
And even the horror stuff, what Jujutsu Kaisen ended up being, which I like, this is what I wanted it to be. Where it's not I'm just battling a monster, it's I'm battling a horrific monster, and not in like we punch each other, but like if I mess up, the monster's gonna straight up eat me. This works a lot better for me for what I wanted from a horror action mashup.
Yeah, it ties in the real side of things where like we never fight monsters, yokai, UFO
Right.
monsters, aliens in the real world, but we do have to deal with relationships or monstrous social events and things like that. And yeah, I couldn't stand to watch just 100 relationship animes. That would drive me absolutely nuts. I didn't think of this, even though I was praising in the pre-show when we talked about it, I was praising how they wove in the relationship and the romance. It still never to me came across as a romance. Like that was just an undercurrent of so it's written well enough that you can walk away with whatever you want is the primary aspect of it, facet, and then these other facets maybe are you push them down. Might be different for someone else, but
it's definitely doesn't come across as a Valentine's Day special or anything, but like you were noting in pre-show, really because those character threads are so strong that no matter how weird and silly the outside get, there's that strong through line that's relatable. You can grab onto. You can recognize what these two characters are feeling, and then communicating and working through that stuff is realistic despite everything else going around them.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship building was exhausting.
It wasn't that bad. We've watched worse.
I had a rough time.
Really?
Oh, man.
Wait, is it more the Otakun character that you have an issue with?
I think it's because they're young and they don't know how to express themselves as far as confidently or being awkward or like not knowing, they're obviously not mature.
Yeah, but you're a man in your 40s. Like when you want to tell your wife you love her, you just tell her. You don't have to hold those things out. The first time
I identified more with the mannequin.
You're just like screaming and running.
I saw you more as a Gigi myself, having grown up with you.
That's awesome.
He was irritating, but
Gigi was amazing.
He is irritating.
Yeah, but that's his stick.
I spent summers with you. We grew up together, and I'd go and spend summers with you, and I'd watch you talk with people and flirt with girls and be very comfortable in your skin, and very much felt the hey, this guy's awesome and I love hanging out with him, but God, I'm so jealous of the way you could just talk to people. No, you weren't like walking up to people and be like, you're a hottie with a body or anything like that. Gigi's shtick is a little odd, and the fact that it's working is what kept surprising me.
He's over the top, yeah.
Yeah, he's over the top. The thing that kept weirding me out is that every other character was like, "This is working for me," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But that contrast, we'll get into it. But yeah, I definitely related to how hard it is to take those opening steps from I'm friends with you, I'm developing feelings for you. I have no idea how to translate any of this to a way to communicate or even know what I'm doing with these feelings I'm feeling for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't identify, like, especially the beginning episode where they're like looking for each other during lunch. I wanted to go, can we just go to the next episode? This is dumb.
So wait a second. I have a question. Do you guys remember that anime that we watched where it was about the boy? He was young and he was interested in the girl. He was also an emo and he
yeah. Dangers of My Heart.
Yeah, you liked that one, right,
yeah.
Jason?
The manga just ended.
I remember you saying you
I
liked
had
that.
I had mixed feelings about it.
I could have sworn you
But
gave
they
it a good
were-
score.
But they were also way more forward than these two are as far as like developing the relationship.
I don't think so. At least I don't remember it that way. But interesting.
Yeah, what did I give it?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Jason gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that
it was
sounds about right.
decent. Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of that relationship building either. But the whole awkward, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking stuff just.
Right,
I
you
don't
didn't do that.
Yeah, you didn't experience
Right.
it. I did.
Yeah, I didn't experience it. So.
And been happily married for a long time. I haven't experienced it a long time.
Right.
And I definitely be like, man, when you grow up, you're gonna wish this is not the way to do this. This is terrible choices you're making.
Like you're being dumb.
But I can also relate. Yeah, I was also that dumb, and definitely had that feeling of like, oh, she's friends with that guy. Does that mean she likes that guy? Should I just go away? God, that's real talk. That's
yeah. How he was basically defeated before he even fought. Like he just every opportunity was just, I'm not good enough. That
and I'm
people deal with that. Yeah.
As a character flaw that I recognize. Like it's not a good thing he's doing that. It's not.
No.
He needs to grow confident, and that's what I want to see the show do. And I actually want to. Okay, we're talking about the relationship. My favorite thing about the relationship in this is how even from the start they are already making each other better, and that's one of my favorite things to see in a romance relationship. He is. He doesn't talk. He's afraid to talk, but she pisses him off so much at the beginning that he jumps out of his shell to argue with her, and they start off clashing heads really good, but it's already she's bringing him out, and he's finding that confidence to find his voice to tell her off. She's already improved him, and they're just starting, and they keep going. They improve each other. Her finding values and traits. Oh, I love this actor, but then she's noticing them in a guy who looks like the opposite of what she must dream about, but all those traits are there just buried deep inside, and as he's trying to become that person himself, not realizing that's what her ideals are. It's a beautiful, well-written thing, I think.
Yeah, beautiful is not a word I would use, but
Okay.
I get what you're saying, but it's exhausting to watch somebody with such low confidence defeat themselves before a word is even said from either person. It's just, anyways. We should probably start the first episode.
Should try living it. It is exhausting.
Yeah. People deal with it. It sucks.
I am so glad I left that behind. It was so bad. All right. The beginning. We start with our main character having a violent breakup with her horrible boyfriend.
Literally violent.
Literally violent. Yeah, like she kicking him, he's smacking her. It's violent. Now she this is Momo Isa. She is a Gyaru. Am I saying that right? A Gyaru? It's the they want to be California girls in Japan. They tan, they bleach their hair blonde.
She just say it, but she never puts the makeup on and stuff like that. Her friend does.
She's on, like, part of that solution. Culture, though.
I guess. I would say she's the most like tame version of it.
Yeah.
In the show.
Well, honestly, what I really appreciate about it is that even though she is that, she wasn't just this archetype cliche version of it. They showed that she is more than just that. She enjoys that culture. That's who she likes to be, but she is also a thinking independent person, not just following cliches of doing whatever she's supposed to do to fit this norm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your guys' thoughts on Momo?
She's a good character. I like when she develops her powers. I do like her confidence and her spunkiness. She's also, she's kind-hearted and has kind of a rough exterior, but is always looking to do the right thing. So yeah, she's a good character.
Yeah. I love the scenes where you get to see a glimpse into who she really is, like past that prickly exterior. And it's funny when she'll like kind of shove Otakun not out of the way, but just to kind of get a point across. There's a lot of moments that I think are just they're genuinely adorable. Like the interactions are really good, and she's usually the culprit there. She's also like the way she uses those the psychic power that she has, the hands, it's just very reminiscent of Spider-Man. And when you tie that into the way that he's running, like it's just really cool seeing the way that they use these powers. That's pretty neat. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, everything Jason said. She's great character.
Yeah, I was telling these guys while we were getting ready for the show, one of my favorite things in the world is when a hero looks at a horrific abomination and just gives it sass instead of recoiling in fear or screaming in terror. Just, like, screw you. It's great. It is a trope that I love. The Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser. I remember watching it as a kid, and when the mummy screams at him and he screams back at it, it blew my mind. Like, you can do that? You can just not be afraid of a monster? Oh, I loved it. And she's got that in spades. So I watched this in English, but I had subtitles on, but they were the translated subtitles. And there's a huge difference, especially in her language, because they're trying to make it Americanized teen punk talk. So she's saying words like skank and some curse words, and she's a little more, definitely American punk versus Japanese punk in the English dialogue, which I kind of like better because I was looking at the subtitles and seeing what she actually was saying. I kind of like the extra sass that was coming out of her. And then her powers, I just wanted to say, we've seen a lot of cool psychic powers displayed. Mob 100 or Mob Psycho 100 obviously being one of the best ones. But I really did enjoy the visualization of just two hands that are coming out of her grabbing onto things. There's that limitation, and then we get to see that visualization of it. Was very cool.
Elfin lied. All the way.
Yeah, yes. And then like you said, in very clever ways that I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the story demanded that she not use them, which really upset me.
When was that?
When she's got the girl on her back and she's got zip ties, it's like
she was using them.
She only was using them. She couldn't use her real hands. She just said it was harder to do without the visualizations of her real hands.
No, what I'm saying is she grabs the two girls and tosses them, but then the girl on her back she doesn't grab. Why? Yep.
Well, I don't think it mattered very much. I don't know. It didn't.
She was pinning her down. She was pinning her down. Why wouldn't she want her? She was screaming, "Get off me!" And then she started rubbing something on her face. Why wouldn't she use her hand to throw her off? That doesn't make sense to me.
I guess she could have. It didn't seem like a very big flaw to me.
You're being pinned to the ground and you're being assaulted, but you're not going to use your hands that you just used to throw two individuals. Now you're just not going to throw the one individual that's actually assaulting you? Okay.
She couldn't grasp onto her aura because she had her own spiritual power. That's why she was only able to grab the two other girls.
Not at that point.
That would kind of make sense because the fact that she had it, she'd already started seeing ghosts, so she'd already unlocked.
But she can grab Otakun.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Maybe it's because Otakun allows her to grab him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we'll just keep bending the rules and making up new ones to justify.
We're just trying to understand the author's intent.
I would 100% made up mine too. Just record.
I think it's the gold. I think it's the golden sphere. I think whoever was holding the golden sphere couldn't be messed with. There, solved.
Sure.
It has life energy.
She does point out it's harder to control, and she might be worried that she just killed two teenage girls, and
I was worried she
wanting to add a third body to it.
Mm-hmm.
Disagree.
Okay.
Anyway, out of curiosity, was that the only time?
No. There were a few times where, like, it just would have made more sense to use them at a particular time, but she chose not to, or she grabbed onto something else, which could have been just experience. That's fine. But that was one of the more egregious ones.
Okay.
You know, sometimes when I'm playing a video game, I don't use a power and I end up dying. And I bet somewhere Jason's like, why did you use that power? It's egregious.
Noob.
You wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
Just saying, sometimes you just don't hit the button. It happens. All right. She breaks up with her boyfriend, complains to her friends, and just not the type of guy she was looking for. Then we see her.
Just an awkward kind of guy.
She's walking around the school and she sees this young geeky guy getting picked on and goes and sits with him to kind of get the bullies out the back. She just hates bullies, much like a certain nurse who's going to come up in the story later. Sorry.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Thought of that later. Anyway, she sits with him.
Totally appropriate.
Just to defend him. And then he kind of misinterprets it. Kind of. He also gets it, but also sees an opportunity. He's like, oh, she wants to talk about aliens with me. So she runs up and she's like, this is dumb. This is weird. Creepy stuff. I don't care about any of this, and insults him. Then she apologizes, immediately realizes she went a little too far and got too defensive. And she's like, I don't believe in aliens, but I do believe in ghosts. And he's like, you believe in ghosts? What an idiot. And that's kind of the central premise that starts our anime, is that these two believe in different things in the occult and think the other one's an idiot, so they challenge each other to go. But before we do that, let's talk about Oda-kun, whose real name is Ken Takakura, but if that is said in front of Momo, that's like her ideal. That's a real actor in Japan, an action star, and if she hears even the name pronounced, she gets so flustered she almost loses consciousness. So he's not allowed to refer to his real name. He has to be Oda-kun so she can handle being around him. You guys' thoughts on Ken?
I thought he was a decent character, but there were a lot of things I didn't like about him. I did like that once he gets his powers, it's very much a Deku situation where his body just can't. It's not developed enough to be able to handle the power. I think that's cool. Man, I'm trying to think of the word. Anyways, it's a cool story beat. Yeah. Narrative device, I think is what I'm trying to think of. It also gives limitations to where he can't just be an absolute powerhouse and defeat everything and make everything trivialized, which is nice. But his internal monologue is, I just cannot identify with. I know you guys are getting flashbacks, but like it was so nauseating to watch this guy continually beat himself up over nothing, because it's this imagined world that he's built up in his head over layers upon layers, and they spent so much time on it, and I was just like, can we move the story along? Like this isn't building anything. This is just showing a character flaw. But besides that, his he's plucky, he's caring, he's willing to give up very valuable things to help a random alien.
Yes.
Yeah, I just anyways, we'll get into it later. Anyways, yeah.
I mean, I think the time to get into it now if we're talking about the character.
I just don't like that they're 15 years old. It's wrong with me. So the big difference between Dangers in My Heart is it was fairly strictly teenage love that we were exploring. This, we're constantly bringing parents or adult or alien older things into it, and also like talking about like sexualized topics, and it just feels weird. I don't it doesn't sit well with me. Like you've got BDSM nurse doing things outside a door in front of children. It's like, ugh, I didn't like.
The nurse thing didn't even bother me because it was like she just left the room. There was a silhouette for like 10 seconds, and honestly, she was just smacking the guy. Like I didn't even get BDSM out of that.
No, I mean it was. That's a.
I genuinely didn't. I genuinely didn't. I just got like, okay, so this is the joke is that the nurse says she doesn't like bullies, but she herself is a bully. That's how I took that scene.
And there's just too much, lack of clothes throughout this entire anime for these young kids. I just.
The water fight, I think, is perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's no different than swimsuits for the most part. Like the boy was the only one that didn't have a swimsuit on.
And then he's naked, literally buck naked, on top of her when they pop into the real world.
I want to talk about that scene. I have things to say about that. I have nothing but praise for that moment.
Yeah, I thought it was well executed. I thought it was funny, and I don't know. I remember being like 15, and I would have thought this was great. I would not have had a problem with this at all. So I don't know. I can't honestly criticize it now and say, oh, this is, horrible. I don't know.
Yeah, one of them was like a full-on adult mixed in with this. Like if he was a 30-year-old man and she was 15, I'd freak out. But the fact that they're all same age,
okay.
Out of
let me clarify.
Range.
Let me clarify. I'm not talking about them being together being the problem. It's the public humiliation I wasn't a big fan of.
Oh, I thought that's what made the scene. Like it was the entire freak out, awkward. You can't explain. Like I've got to explain what this situation is. It's not sexual at all because the scenario is what put them there. But everybody's going to perceive it as if it was, because why wouldn't you? And that's the awkwardness of how do you solve that?
Whether it was sexual or not, you have these kids exposed to all of their peers in that random hallway. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Dude, at junior high, freshman year, it had to be somewhere in that age range. I remember kids streaking at summer camp, and that being a big thing that everyone laughed and tittillated about. But, like this
but
is
if you're
very
streaking, that's your own choice. I empathize with someone that gets pantsed in front of, say, an assembly, right?
Yeah. That's
like
kind of what
that
this
wasn't.
was.
Yeah, it wasn't their choice to be in that situation. Like if you're streaking, that's on you, man.
But what kind of humiliation is acceptable? Because we've seen a lot of anime where characters were humiliated in front of public groups and it wasn't an issue.
It's because they're underage.
The other characters were underage, but they weren't stripped naked. But I don't know. I just
give me an example.
Well, I can't because I don't remember things that super clearly. But I do remember that. Go ahead.
For the record, I never pantsed Jason growing up. I don't want anyone thinking that's what this is coming from.
No. I've never been pantsed in public or in private. I'm just saying that if I were to put myself in that position, and it would be very, very humiliating.
Well, yeah, but I think that was the point of the scene. The point of the scene was that they were humiliated. I don't see a problem with the method by which they were humiliated because that especially to me seems very believable. Like you throw,
I understand
throw
it's
them into that
hijinks,
scenario.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And they just exited a life and death scenario to the point where the fact they were in that position and it didn't bother them at all. And then suddenly like the real world is there and now suddenly they care about high school stuff like being seen naked.
Right.
But really, in the scope of everything they're dealing with,
it didn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. But because it matters to them, it's funny.
Right. And that was the joke of it all. Yeah. So I don't know. For me, that I see it. I completely understand where they're coming from in that and how the joke was built, and it doesn't bother me.
The but this feels like Space Dandy all over again.
Maybe.
What is funny?
Guy in a Dandadan. All right, Jeremy, your thoughts on Ken?
I thought Ken was great. I thought he was the shy kid that is uncertain of his own worth. He's been bullied all his life, and he's just kind of driven himself inward to enjoy whatever he enjoys without even thinking about other people, to the point where now the bullying just doesn't matter. He completely ignores it. Doesn't bother him at all. And so watching him change to where, oh, okay, it's all right to peek out of the shell a little bit and interact with some other people. That was really cool, and it felt very real to me. And seeing her show a little attention to him and actually be patient with him as he was experiencing that was very nice. It was very refreshing. A lot of times you have scenarios like were presented in this anime where there could be great misunderstandings, and they're drawn out way longer than they need to be, and they didn't do that here. On both sides of the aisle, there was a lot of assumptions made and accusations made, but then they resolved them. And I like that. I think that is effective for, anyone in a relationship, regardless of their age.
I definitely can understand where Jason felt frustrated with him. There were definitely times where I'm like, man, you got to see your self-worth, but also that character flaw is his character flaw. That is his journey. He's going through this. And I am enjoying that journey. There was a shot, I don't forget where it was, somewhere in the later episodes, and I remember thinking, man, when they're together and married, and he's like 30 years old looking back at this, and he is a strong, confident person, and he's just going to look back on these days and laugh. And it felt so real to me of the projection he's on, because again, we find out Momo's ideal man is a strong man of action who is confident, and then we have this guy who has no self-worth, but all those values are in there. He has them in them, and they exist. He really is that person. There's just this whole layer of garbage from the bullying, the lack of self-worth that are covering it up. And I thought they did a really good job of giving us peaks of this confidence, both in his transformation and outside of his transformation, that I thought was really cool. I thought it's a complex character. Again, I understand where Jason's coming. I'd love to see it go a little faster, because you feel really bad for him, and to the point where it's almost like it's almost cringe to watch. Like, man, you clearly no one is thinking this low of you, but you, except for you. But when you're in that seat, it's hard to know.
My favorite thing about Ken is his stalwartness when it comes to his constant rejection of Arya. I think not only him pushing her away, because she's a pretty girl, but like he's like, you're not the one for me. Like, he has no wavering when it comes to this girl.
Yep. All right, so the challenges have been made, and to get us through this first episode a little bit quicker, they're talking on the phone while they're doing this. So she gives a little bit of backstory about how, she's raised by a spirit medium who's her grandmother, and she always did all this mojo stuff like her grandma told her. And then the boy she had a crush on made fun of her, and it really bugged her because he was making fun of the grandma. But it made her act out against her grandmother, and they've had a rough relationship ever since, yada, yada, yada. But that's why she chooses to believe in ghosts. Anyway. He's in a tunnel, and a ghost appears. This is Turbo Granny. We're going to talk about her later when she comes back. But she's like, don't run away. He definitely runs away. And if you run from Turbo Granny, she takes it as a challenge to a race. And if she beats you in the race, she curses you. This is what happens to Ken. Meanwhile, Momo, who's in an abandoned hospital known for getting UFO visits, gets abducted by aliens who are not even subtle about what they want to do with her. They use cloning technology for their race, and so they want to evolve, and they've decided to breed humans, so they have picked up a 15-year-old high school girl to do so. They are in human men suits, and then they have giant robot apparatuses that come out of them. Again, it is not subtle. It is definitely a sex joke. I guess that's fair. If the sex jokes would bother you, like they bother Jason, and I think fairly, this anime is raunchy like American Pie. It is a sex teen comedy running through it. That's why I called it gag
Even
anime.
Turbo Granny it's a sexual joke.
Turbo Granny wants to eat genitals. The explanation is that your life force is in your genitals, so the yokai want to eat them.
I think the real reason is she's a vengeful spirit that's harming men in the way that they harmed girls that she yearns for, or not yearn, but identifies with.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. Kill La Kill. Did you ever watch Kill La Kill, Jason?
Yes.
Did you hate it?
I don't remember particularly liking it.
I love Kill La Kill.
I love Kill La Kill.
I also watched it when I was like 22.
Uh-huh.
Jeremy, you like Kill La Kill?
Oh, I loved Kill La Kill. It was great. Fighting with scissors.
Yeah, no.
Clothing is alive.
I love it. I mean, it's
the aliens.
the studio that I love all the time. It's Gurren Lagann studio.
So in Kill La Kill, Ryuko is forcibly stripped in front of a massive audience as her body is used against her will.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Yeah, but you didn't say you hated it. Akame ga Kill as death. During a fight against zombies, her clothing is shredded, leaving her in a revealing state while remaining her cool-headed battle stance.
How old is Esdeath?
It doesn't matter. My point is, like, when characters
it
are
does.
humiliated
100%
by stripping them. No, what doesn't matter is the humiliation. If you
I told you. I specified the humiliation part was because they were children. That was my issue, not the humiliation. It was the humiliation of children.
What about Kill La Kill then? You should hate that anime.
I said I dislike it.
No, you
didn't
didn't.
say
He hasn't stated he hated this anime. He's mostly praised it, except for some.
Well, yeah. But Kill La Kill is basically all half nude girl running around fighting with a pair of scissors.
Right. And I don't like the humiliation, but that's her arc, is becoming comfortable with her body. I think that's
good.
How old is she? Why does she have to become comfortable with her body in front of you?
I don't know how old she is, for one, and for two, I didn't write the story.
That dead horse ain't getting up, man.
Yeah.
I'm just poking at it because I think it's extremely like focused here on something that isn't that big of an issue when it's present in so many other anime that I don't know. I don't see you hate them as viscerally.
I said I dislike it in this anime. I never said I hated it.
I disagree.
He's welcome to his opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't like the humiliation in Kill la Kill. I think it's a completely different arc, and it's a completely different story in general. I mean,
what about High School of the Dead, when Psycho's clothing are torn in combat and she's a high schooler?
High School of the Dead's not.
That's a soft porn. I mean, right. I'm not.
Yeah, but I know you've seen it.
Okay, but like, what? Well, okay. For one, it's high school.
Okay.
So.
Wait. The only anime that when I was watching these types of jokes, what it was calling to my mind was Yurusei, the Lem, the alien with the boyfriend, but he doesn't actually like her.
Oh, Yurusei Yasu.
Darling. Yeah. That's the kind of vibe I was getting, where it's very sexual, even though they're high schoolers. Like it actually almost felt like it was taking that comedy and mixing it with everything else, almost pound for pound. And some of that comedy didn't work for me. I remember saying that, but I could see a scene in that where any of the characters end up completely naked in front of the school. But I think what Jason's saying, if that had happened, it would have bugged him in that scene as well. And I think that's a completely fair take.
Well, and that's the thing, is you asked for examples. I had to give examples. And I don't know. I think that these other scenes are so much worse. I agree with the Urusei Yatsura analogy. I think
I didn't laugh at those either or enjoy them either. But it doesn't make me hate the entire anime. I think you're building a different bridge than what I was describing.
I don't know. I got the impression it was a very strong opinion that like tinted your view of the whole show.
No,
he said he didn't like American Pie. We already knew where he was coming
Yeah.
from. It was clear. It is a really interesting question because you watch most people, Jason, watch American Pie when they're 18 and they're like, yeah, that's what it's like. That's what I would feel like.
Right.
I would do a pie if that's what it took. And it's sexual, but they're high schoolers, and yet it's completely fine. But I haven't seen a raunchy teen comedy in a long time, especially when I've never seen before. If American Pie came out today, I was watching the first time as a man in his 40s. If I would be like, wow, this is really creepy that Shannon Doherty is topless. Not Shannon Doherty. Anyway, that girl gets topless, but she's a high schooler in the movie. And am I okay with that when I feel comfortable? I definitely was at the time when I was 18 watching it. But I don't know. I think I would.
I know the actress was obviously not 18 at the time. I mean, obviously older, but
none of them
is she portrayed as 17 or under in the story?
Yeah, I mean they're all high school seniors. So maybe...
Okay, so senior implies 18.
17 to 18, yeah.
18.
Depending on the individual.
But yes, I realize the law is 18, but I have an 18-year-old daughter. I see her as a child.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
But
it's perspective.
17's illegal. 18 is legal. Not saying it's any better morally, but one will get you arrested and one won't. So
I'm pointing out that the audience is what really determines it, and I think this is anime made for teens who are going to very much relate to how these characters are feeling and the sex jokes, and I think they're going to land with a 16-year-old audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just not the demographic.
I 100% agree with that.
I just wanted to make that clear.
I do think it's not.
Jeremy, do you think I'm being inconsistent?
I do. Sometimes I do think you're being inconsistent.
Can you give me an example of my inconsistency?
Yes.
I think that's what I was trying to do.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. And it's also when, like, I brought up the Deadly Love or whatever that anime is called. I remember you liking it a lot more. I'm actually surprised it's a 3. I could have sworn you gave it a higher score. So I got the impression you liked it a lot more than you gave it a score for.
But there was no nudity or like
I'm
nudity
saying
in that one.
No, I'm talking about just in general when it comes to relationships and stuff.
I just don't. Yeah, the slower, awkward relationships, I'm not a big fan of. I never have been.
No. That was the inconsistency. Is that I remembered you being a big fan of it in that one, and you were like, oh no, this lands great. And I was the one that hated it because I was like, God, this show is so boring. I know it's a dead horse. I know, and I'm sorry I got so wrapped up in it, but I don't know. The show is very clearly a joke. It is very clearly a joke, and it's very clearly pointed at a certain audience. And so I don't know. It felt like you were coming down really, really hard on it. Is all. So
I honestly could see Jason saying to me I'm being inconsistent because I know we have watched anime where I felt like, I felt awkward as an adult man watching this happen with teenagers. In this anime, I was able to kind of separate those two things and kind of say this is all happening within the same age wise. And even though that's not where I'm at, if I was watching it there, and so I could kind of disassociate and not feel creepy. But like I said, Jason, I've 100% been in your boat many times, and I could totally be called out for being inconsistent myself.
Right. Well, and there's also none of the scenes were actual anything. There was no sex. There was no rape. There was no nothing. There were there was always the fear of, and there were always very bad situations that were leading up to that, right? But I think that those things, like the fear of scenarios, those are realistic scenarios. I think that those scenarios happen and those stories happen. And so having a character in a precarious situation like that and then finding their way out of it, I think that's an interesting story. Now, if they actually did wind up, the aliens did wind up stealing her uterus, yeah, I would have a serious problem with this. I remember when we watched
Oregon.
Yeah, the banana, exactly. When we watched the robot grandpa.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, when we watched that one, you know, and what happened in that one was just too much for all of us. We all were like, you know, you can't watch a kid get killed like that. It's merciless, it's horrible, it's too far. But putting them in this scenario and then like having them fight their way out of it, to me, that's like, it's very similar to putting them in any other life and death scenario and then having
let me
fix it.
Let me be clear. I don't think anything was too far in this anime. I just don't like those kinds of situations and jokes. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
But if they were, say, aged up to 19, all good?
Yeah, if they were college students,
right? Okay.
I would probably see it in a different light, you know.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, Turbo Granny powered Ken, or cursed Ken, comes through the phone and starts fighting the aliens, but they manage to defeat him. And then Momo activates her psychic powers and she defeats the aliens. And then
Which,
Turbo
by the
Granny,
way, is a beautiful scene. Her breaking out of the chair, all the glitter everywhere, and then she just roundhouses that alien. That was cool.
Yeah. One thing I did have an issue with was when the UFO slams into the ground and like ruins the road and everything. And this happens at other times too. All of that massive infrastructure damage didn't happen, I guess. Like it's never covered on the news. Nobody talks about it. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the rest of the world doesn't care about any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like they do say that no one else sees the crab when the crab is running through the town, but the crab is like breaking stuff left and right. So are they also not
the spiritual version?
The spiritual version of everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
You're probably right.
The Turbo Granny gets sent back she gets exiled from the body, but she takes Ken's banana with her.
Yep.
So he's got no banana. And then the UFO crashes, and he finally says his name to her, which is Ken Takakura, and that's when she's like, "Nope, you're gonna be Ada-kun from now on." He gives her his clothes. They go back to her house to see her grandmother, but she's not home. When they walk onto the property, he bursts into flame because they have a spiritual barrier, and he has a cursed ghost in her. And in fact, she has to continuously use her psychic powers to contain the curse because he'll turn into Turbo Granny and attack her if not. So she throws him in the river. She undoes the seal. They go inside and get dressed. They have a really nice kind of one of their first conversations about, you know, him wanting friends, and she's like, actually you push people away, and then he's like, what, you're such a jerk, just calling out people's character flaws right to their face. And again, another sign though that he can he's able to stand up to her despite being a person who's weak and backs down to everyone. He has the strength to stand up to her. I love that. It's such a little detail that is so important, I think, to who he really is and what she does for him. Anyway, the doorbell rings and they forgot to put the seal up. And when they go outside to try to fix it,
it's the other doorbell, by the way.
Yeah, the other.
Oh yeah.
doorbell for spirits. Except for it's not a spirit. It ends up being an alien who creates walls all around the property, so they're trapped in. It's a giant sumo wrestling alien. I'm not gonna be able to go into a lot of detail on the combat scenes, but I do just want to say they're all pretty gorgeous and imaginative and cool. I liked all of them. But basically through this, Ken learns that he can create his own turbo form if she contains Granny enough in him, and he can just have the power. But he can only go all out in it 2 times. But he's like super fast, but also super depressed. He's like, oh, this is such like a bummer.
Okay, in the English dub, what was his key phrase?
This is a drag, and instead of calling them by their first name, he calls them babe. He's like, you need to chill, babe.
Interesting. Okay, in the sub, it was, I feel so wilted.
Yeah, I noticed that subtitle keeps showing up, but yeah, it was this is a drag.
Yeah, it took me a little while to realize that what he probably meant.
As far as the combat goes, one of the funnier parts is like he blows apart the sumo guy's leg, and then she gets him to fall because in sumo wrestling, if your hand hits the mat, you're out. And so as soon as his hand's about to hit the ground, it like disintegrates. And I guess he then like morphs to then stand back up. She's like, you cheated.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Turned his hand into a foot or something.
Right. So, that's her plan that she comes up with to defeat him, realizing this is a sumo wrestler. So he's following sumo wrestler rules. And then it pins her to the wall, and Ken's like, hey, turn me back into my super form so I can help. And she's like, no, I got this. And she keeps getting punched and bashed into the wall, into this stone wall, until the point where it forms enough of a divot that she's outside of the barrier. She pulls Ken to her, and she puts up the paper talisman that reforms the barrier, killing the alien inside, and thus releasing the wall. But she passes out from this, and so Ken transforms into the full curse. And then we meet an old spirit medium on TV who gets all these. She's talking to like this pop star, and she gets all these projections about him wrong. And then we find out later that she was 100% right. So she is the real deal. Her TV name is Santa Dodora, but this is Psycho Iose. This is Momo's grandmother, who shows up to battle Turbo Granny here. But what are your guys' thoughts on Psycho? Psycho? Probably.
I like this. I like this character a lot. She's who she remind me of? Anyway, she's just like super straightforward, but also kind of mean and spiteful.
The biggest brat on the entire planet.
Yes, 100%. She's far too attractive to be a grandmother. And everyone points that out, which I think is hilarious. And she seems to be lazy, but the thing is that she's only doing it to push her granddaughter, like, to make her grow and build her. Even though she does it in kind of mean boot campish
she always
way.
does the right thing, but then she'll literally tell you I murdered your friend and then find out that she saved him and protected him and did all this extra stuff. But I want to see you suffer, so I'm gonna just lie about it. That's very much what her shtick is.
And also, like, this is one of the things I praise the anime about, is that it's got really clever writing. Just doing barriers with spirits can be pretty straightforward, but the way she does it with this first encounter with Turbo Granny was really really neat to watch. How she's like, okay, I got you in this circle, and then here's the nails so that you can't get out. Oh, but now I'm going to draw another circle that's just going to wreck you. And then she erases the inner circle, and it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah. I also love that her baseball bat is actually also a pencil. Like, that is weird.
And it's got cool markings on it, so I think it's also a talisman.
Yeah, you're probably right. Which is why she can hit him with it. Yeah. No, she's really funny. As soon as I saw like the flashbacks, I was like, wait a minute, is this grandma going to be really young? Is that the joke they're playing here? I bet that's it. Yeah, I thought her outfit was the weirdest thing. Just the way that she chooses to dress, the character design is really odd. I still kind of don't like it. It's probably my least favorite character design among all the characters, just because it clashes so much with who she is. But I mean, it fits her personality perfectly, but I don't know. She's
if you want to eat, just make sure you tell her she's, cute,
right.
or
then you'll be a
smart.
genius.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Nope. She was pretty great.
Yeah. I think she's hilarious. I think I agree about the outfit. It's almost like one step over hanging out in your underwear, but not quite. But old lady clothes, but also sexy at the same time. It's all very clashing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I love the way as soon as anyone's giving crap to Momo, she's instantly on that person's side, and just, because we were told her and Momo had this bad relationship and aren't talking, but really what they've been doing is just like driving each other crazy. And even though now they've made up, that's still the norm. Like, I'm going to torture you, you're going to torture me. That's what we're doing here. And I like the power. She's obviously the powerhouse of the group, being the strong medium, but she can't leave her territory, and so that's how they keep her out of the fights and make her just the teacher, the master Roshi to this group. That was clever. I liked her. All right, so she uses the bat pencil nail combo to defeat Turbo Granny. Momo wakes up and again is told that Ken is dead and that his body's out in the shrine. She goes out, he's out there just eating a rice ball. And so we have a really funny scene where a lot of dialogue goes back and forth. She's teasing her about liking him. She's like, hey, don't even help him. He's going to die anyway. It's not your problem. And Momo's like, I definitely want to help. It's my responsibility. I help cause this. Okay, well, you guys have to train every day for weeks because you have to beat Turbo Granny in a race. So we're going to put you through this intense training program. And then the next morning, Ken has to go to the bathroom really, really bad, but because she has to constantly watch him, they're trying to figure out the logistics of this. Doesn't end up working. She has to watch him poop, but Turbo Granny shows up and is like, I can get anybody at any time since I have this curse on you. So you guys have to come to my tunnel tonight. No training, no getting ready for this. It's on. So Psycho puts him in temple outfits that will protect them
It's like
a little bit.
Bulletproof armor.
Yeah. And sends them off to this tunnel. And the plan is you got to get her out of her territory where she will be depowered, and then you'll be able to defeat Turbo Granny. And they go off.
I love the joke that they keep playing about the train, where they have somebody dressed in some awkward outfit or a character that doesn't look right on the train, right? Because they're in their priest garb on the train. And then later there's the mannequin on the train. And yeah, and it's just it's like this funny thing that they come back to a couple of times. I don't know. It's a funny joke.
That's good. I didn't even pick that up, but yeah, it does have it a couple times with the train. She changes because she's like, I don't care about armor. I want to look cool. But mostly like, hey, you gotta feel comfortable in combat. So she kind of has a point, even though it's kind of stupid at the same time.
She's back to her Garu outfit.
Garu outfit. That's the way she rocks. So they go to Turbo Granny's tunnel, and again, this is a huge action set piece with multiple stages. A giant crab gets involved. Ken bites her boob at one point.
Yes.
She leaves his body. She takes the curse away so that he won't have powers, because she's like, I don't want to use my powers against me. But then they trick her into going, or they force her to go back in and then hold her spirit out so he only gets the power while the crab is chasing them. They temporarily stop the crab with hot springs, and then the undead show up who just work for Turbo Granny.
Yeah.
And again, the coolest thing though is the combo of powers. So he's able to sprint at super high speeds, but he can't make turns with both of them. So she's using her arms to grab things and slingshot them around her turns. They start playing the song, the William Tell Overture, in a modern version. Very well done, very cool. It's just hype. There's another song. It's not fast. Claire de Lune. There's just classic songs that when you hear it, it's like, man, this song, there's a reason everyone knows the song. It's good. It just works.
Because of their mom. Because their mom plays the piano and plays that song every freaking day.
I've heard Claire de Lune in anime and other places too. Like, it's I just like Claire de Lune. Oh, it was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I remember being in that and being like, God, that's really good. That's just a good use of it. So just really cool fighting, and they end up getting to the train to outrun Turbo Granny, but she catches up to the train. But then they reveal this was all part of the plan, and that Psycho has set up one of her barriers because they're about to enter into her territory, which they do, and Turbo Granny is defeated, and the crab is defeated, which is actually the spirit of a bunch of dead teen girls who were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I want to talk about Turbo Granny, because she's going to come back into the story, but this kind of reveal that she's not just an evil spirit. She had become this protector of these murdered girls' spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, she becomes a protagonist-ish about this.
Sort of.
A mascot. Your guys' thoughts on Turbo Granny? She's the cat.
Yeah.
I think I like her a lot when she becomes the cat. Before the cat, she's, just a villain looking to eat dongs.
Yes. It's Granny.
Eat your feeder.
Yeah. I like that she reminds. So in Mob Psycho, you've got the green spirit who's
I was thinking of him too.
Still kind of evil. She's
Yeah.
basically that.
Yep.
And so she's got some funny quips. She's getting into hijinks. I like at one point she jumps out of the backpack. She's like, I'm just gonna roam around the school, see what I've been missing. Like,
Yeah.
like I like these little tidbits that she offers. So it's a good character.
And there's other scenes too that are really good where she's like, they're sitting up there and she's eating something, even though she's in a cat body that doesn't need to eat, I'm sure.
She eats every meal with them, and she gets pissed if you eat her food.
Yeah. And like she gets startled or something and throws the food down or drops the food. And then she picks it right back up and just starts eating it, right? Like 10-second rule. And then later she leaps on one of the other characters, Gigi, and like in the background.
Her beating up Gigi in the background
So
made me
good.
laugh out loud. I was just I didn't even notice it had started, and then I just in the back.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's like wailing on it.
Yeah, she's just beating the crap out of him. So I really liked her for that as well. Like they use her well, and they know how cute and silly that she can be because of what they do in the OP. They know what they're dealing with.
Yep, I liked her. And again, the outro, which is her, listening to rock music and taking and adopting a little kitten, kind of adds the context again that she's not just an evil spirit.
She is, but
she has good intent. She just hates the living, and especially like I think Jason was onto something. Hates men because of the killing of those young girls. She's also an old school yokai. Even though later she meets another yokai and is like, I don't pay attention to the noobs, so I don't have any info. Uses a cell phone to look up what is this ghost.
She did drop one tidbit that I liked for the world building was that the yokai tend to want to hunt the living because they believe that the life force of a living person may end up resurrecting them. That's why they hunt the living. That was cool. I don't think I've heard or seen a spirit yokai anime do that. They usually it's like they're just like jealous or they're vengeful of the living. But this is like, no, this is my ticket back to life.
Yeah. And it was also interesting how they did it in the context of the life-giving portions of the human, right? Like that's where the greatest amount of life energy is condensed. To at least try to justify the silly conceit that they have for the anime.
After this, we get a nice scene of them going to the temple and both praying for the dead spirits, even Granny, and kind of like trying to put them to rest. And then the first of dinner scenes. And this is something apparently the writer is notorious for. He likes dinner scenes after, action pieces. He feels like the characters worked hard. They deserve a meal. And it has something to do like when he was poor and like he'd finish a job, he'd get to go buy a special meal for himself. So it's a running gag that like after every battle they have a fancy, and it's always crazy and hectic, and there's like 3 characters yelling at different characters. This one is the crab, which Ken doesn't want to eat because like they just battled spirit girls who were in a crab body. He's like, that's kind of distasteful. And meanwhile, Momo just munching away. Also, the crab being that rubbery made it not look appetizing. That's not the type of crab I eat. And then Seiko chasing Ken around. Let me see your banana so I can make sure it's there.
Which wound up being a legit
relevant
thing. Like, it was relevant. She even says later, that's why I wanted to know.
He doesn't get everything back, and he being careful enough to check, even though he would know, but whatever. And then see this as he's saying goodbye, he's like, oh, I guess, is this friendship over? And even Momo's like, I guess, are we done? And then she calls out, hey, I will see you tomorrow at school. And then we go to our next section. He's getting to school, sees her waiting for him, assumes it must be waiting for someone else, and she starts walking. She talks with them about the alien. They're talking about stuff, and then they go to class, and they're both like, oh my god, I just want to hang out with her. They're anxious to talk to each other, and then the scene that Jason could not stand, lunchtime, searching for each other, always going past each other, missing each other. It's okay, man. Look,
I don't know if I'll recover.
I've seen anime do the bump into each other, maybe even kiss, maybe almost kiss. The literal sound of teeth hitting each other, and, and how awkward that was. Yeah. I thought that was well done and felt like a real thing that could happen. And you realize this is a girl you like, and you're like, oh crap, like, we just also kiss, but also this hurts. It's so embarrassing, so awkward. And they both handle it very poorly. Momo the most because her friends show up and start making fun of her. And they yell at each other and never want to talk to each other again. He goes to the bathroom and realizes he got his bananas back, but not his strawberries.
Yeah.
Grapes. Kiwis, apples, bananas, pick your...
Well... those golden balls were really big, so maybe grapefruits.
Good for him. So he runs off to get her help, but she's still mad at him. And meanwhile, her friends are like, this isn't like you, especially since she, at this scene, really tells him off, is really mad at him and really mean to him. And they're like, you're never that mean. What is with you? So she goes and apologizes, and he's like, I don't care about that. I don't have balls. Yeah, they find out he's still possessed, so they do an exorcism, which results in smacking him with a pan and pulling the spirit out. It goes into the cat. It's still Turbo Granny, and she's like, yeah, I'm holding your balls hostage so I get my powers back, and I'm going to kill you. And they're like, well, we could just kill you now, so why don't we make a truce, and we'll give you the power back, and you give the balls back. And she's like, okay, but I lost them. I don't know what they are. So that's the new that's the MacGuffin of this anime is Ken's balls,
which it makes the context for the OP so good because he's like, it's his silhouette, and then he goes down and powers up, and these 2 golden balls appear next to him. Yeah, kills me.
So they look for where they had dropped. They're not there. Basically because they're filled with Turbo Granny's spirit energy. Other spirits would be attracted to them. Anyone could have picked them up. They go to school. He hears people talking rumors about ISA. Actually, they come in and they're like, "Hey, can you help me get it with that girl? I heard she'll sleep with anyone. She's a huge slut." He actually transforms and manhandles the guy a little bit, scares him. I don't know if other people can see the transformation because I don't think anyone addressed it. So I think
seems like. Yeah, only people with spirit powers can see because Gigi sees it later, but these guys were just like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah. She finds out he defended him. They get mad at each other. Or are they still mad at each other?
I think there's still? I don't even remember now.
No, I actually I missed Ira's first introduction while they were fighting. After she had said the mean things, this cute pink-haired girl had bumped into him and then was all like flirting with him and then walked away being like, "What a loser! I just gave him the best day of his life."
There's a little bit of a twist there. I think this girl's weird. So
no, she believes she's honestly doing him a favor.
Right.
This is a good action in her eyes.
Like, she doesn't see him as like lower than like life form kind of thing. She doesn't think ill of him. She just gets this pleasure of, he's probably never gonna wash his arm again kind of thing because I'm so amazing. It's an interesting take on that.
She does call him pathetic, but it's also not. It's not just Ken that's pathetic. Everyone who's not her is pathetic and is being treated by her presence. She's not singling him out as like the biggest dork ever or beaming, but she does, call him pathetic, which Momo hears, who drops a wash basin on her head and then gets all flirty with Ken in front of her to kind of like give her comeuppance, and then that's when they apologize and stuff. So now we come back to that girl. She's the one who has started the Momo is a slut rumors. This is going to be one of our new protagonists. Ira. Right? Mm-hmm. Your guys' thoughts on her? The biggest, I'm the central protagonist character I've ever seen.
She's absolutely insane.
Yes.
Like, that's the best way to describe her, because she sees things with her eyes and then translates them into something so outlandish that she can't prove, and then every step that gets disproven, it makes her conviction that much stronger. She's such a wrench in this story. She's pretty funny. She immediately calls both of them demons, even though she gets a very similar power. She thinks she's an angel from heaven, and this is proven because of her beauty, which in reality, she's like, the way she's drawn, she's not significantly more pretty than the other girls in the school.
To be fair, she has pink hair.
But that's true. I mean, but it is anime. Like, they don't normally distinguish that with more than words usually.
It usually means you're the main character, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And also her undying affection for Ken is kind of funny too, because he is just not having it. He's just like, you are weird. You're attacking my friend constantly, and you're also getting me in trouble. Get away from me.
Yeah, she has some of the best scenes. I absolutely love it. That when they show her and she does that running thing where like her hands are in a cat paw and she looks really stupid, but she's running because of an emergency. And so you get the idea of how not put together and not all there that she is. And when she's struggling with him and fighting with him because she wants to get a kiss, and when he actually, like, they fall down and everything, and then she still puckers up, like, that was hysterical. Just that scene, because that was unexpected, right? Given any other anime scenario, you would have her be like, "Oh, I'm nervous, I'm embarrassed," or whatever. No, the crazy girl puckers up. That's funny.
And it wasn't that they tripped. No, she judo tripped him to get them to fall. She's just absolutely nuts.
Hysterical.
I love the line where he's like, "You don't know anything about romance," and she's like, "Just because I have no experience doesn't mean I know anything about romance." He's like, "No, that's exactly what that implies. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then when he goes, "Where did you learn about romance?"
My dad's magazines.
Oh my God,
my dad.
Yes.
Okay, that was pretty good. That was
she's a little bit of what's eminence and shadow? What's that word? That Japanese word? Chunbyo. Yeah. She has that kind of going on, that she thinks she's this special powered person and it's basically fabricated this fantasy world, and the fact that all of it's kind of matching up, but like even after she's been convinced that Momo is a good person, and hey, I just have psychic powers, she's like, nope, demon. They're all demons. And it's when she first showed up, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work. And then once she's in the team, I'm like, this works really well. She fits well with this group, and I'm happy she's here.
I thought the same thing with Gigi later. I was like, oh, don't do this. Don't bring this guy in this way. But then they wrote him in really well.
Yeah. Who we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
So her storyline is she ends up capturing Momo because she thinks Momo is this demon, especially because she sees spirits who she assumed Momo is summoning, but really she's just jealous of Momo because she dropped the wash basin on her head, and she can see the hands coming off of her back. So she heard her friends capture her, tried to do an exorcism on her with a cross that she found.
Her friends bought it for her.
Yeah, her friends brought her the cross in the Bible.
And the golden ball that she found near the train tracks.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Turbo Granny, who's at school, has warned Ken about something going on. So he runs and says, hey, no, you got to watch out for the woman. And she's like, I know, this crazy girl. She tied my hands with a zip tie. She's like, no, not that woman. And then there's an evil spirit that shows up. This is a dancing Selkie. I remember that correctly?
Acrobatic Selkie and
Acrobatic Selkie, yes. No, that was what it wasn't dubbed as well. And she refers to Ira as her Ira. I forget. It doesn't matter. Ira as her daughter. Ken tries to help fight it, gets eaten. Ira gets eaten, and even Momo, when she tries to fight, gets eaten. And Turbo Granny, this is the scene where she pulls out the phone. She's like, "Hold on, I'm looking it up." She's like, "Hey, I demand you give those kids back. You know, you can't eat them, you young whippersnapper of a
you nobody."
Yeah, you nobody. And she's like, "By the way, I'm a good luck cat, and you've eaten some of your own hair. And I bet that cross was actually a lighter." And then she catches on fire because Momo lights the lighter, sets the hair on fire, catches everybody on fire. They get spit out. There's this really cool escape scene where they're rushing through this warehouse that they're in, and the Selkie's hair catches onto everything that it touches. So she ends up trapping herself within the warehouse, and Ken does a giant headbutt to be able to defeat it, but Ira actually ends up dying, and then the spirit offers its aura to bring her back to life, and then we get the flashback of the spirit, which was a woman who was working as hard as she could for her daughter, doing some shady stuff. Yeah. And then takes some money from that to buy her daughter a birthday dress, and then some bad men come to collect the money, take the daughter, end up throwing her through glass. She gets all cut up. She runs out into the street to find her daughter, and it's implied she dies as she starts doing ballet dancing, because that's what she was teaching her daughter is ballet, and dances into a spirit. Then a young little girl who can see spirits, Ira when she was a kid, mistakes her for her mother, and her being a spirit kind of has forgotten what she just knows she's lost something, and she attaches to her as her daughter and has been waiting all this time for her to be able to see her. That is why she's been trying to eat her, and gives her up her life to Aura. And we're told, hey, when a spirit dies like this, there's no afterlife. There's no resting in peace. This is just removed from existence. So Ira comforts her, tell her she won't forget, speak to her as a mother, hoping to put her at peace when she goes to the beyond.
Probably one of the cooler scenes, but really grotesque. She offers her aura, and they're like, no, you're just going to eat her again. And so she's like, well, to prevent me from eating, and she rips her jaw like all the way down her chest and like her neck and chest. And it's just this gaping, swinging jaw of flesh and teeth. So coolly animated and so grotesque.
Yeah. I can really see hints of Chainsaw Man in this anime. Every now and then they really pop up.
The emotional scene got me. I mean, we were just making penis jokes and chewing on rubbery crab, and this hit me, and I was like, man, I started thinking about like kids and how precious kids are, and I was like, oh man, this just came out of nowhere. And then a couple minutes later, where I was back to making fun of food. They're fighting at the table having dinner again. It was good stuff.
I think Turbo Granny said that the reason the other two lived the swallowing is because they both had spiritual power, and at that point Arya didn't.
Right.
So that's why she came out. She came out dead.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, you're right. So whatever that golden sphere unlocked was not enough to make a difference, at least in that scenario. She could see, but she didn't truly have her spiritual power out.
The rule was stated that normal people that can't see the supernatural, if they get a hold of a supernatural object, allows them to see it, but as soon as they let go of it, they can't see it anymore.
But they can't be grabbed by psychic hands if they're pinning them down.
Yeah, that's right. If they're holding the golden sphere. It's in the golden sphere's description.
Right.
You just have to right click and say description.
So dumb.
All right, so we have another dinner scene, this time with our. What I loved about the art, so Ira and Momo are yelling at each other. Momo tries to apologize, and Ira's like, "Nope, you're a demon. I hate you. we're rivals and enemies to the end." But they keep waiting till they eat their noodles to talk. So they're like, "You're a demon. I still hate you." Hold on. It was also Psycho's bothering Ken. Turbo Granny's yelling about something else. Very chaotic dinner scene again. Very funny. And she thanks Ken for saving her, and he's like, "Of course, this is just what anyone would do." And she falls in love with him, and this is where she's obsessed with. She literally walks away being like, "But he's a demon, and I'm the chosen one. It could never be, but I feel it."
He's got a good heart though, so Momo is controlling him. If I can just save him from her. So the next day, Ken makes up a obvious lie about not wanting to spend time with Momo. That he has to go work on a report. What we find out he was doing is exercising to get stronger to impress her. He says it's for the battles, but it's to impress her. But Ira finds him and confesses. This is where the scene where they fall down. And right when Momo, of course, walks in and sees them, gets all upset. Then we go to her sitting in science class. We learn about shrimp that can punch. Yeah, mantis shrimp.
Mantis shrimp. They have super punches, but only underwater because it's too much. They literally punch too hard if they were in the air. And then these three end up in a spiritual school that's starting to flood with water. And Momo, who's alone, sees a Loch Ness monster.
Loch Ness monster. It's Nessie. Yeah.
It's Nessie, who sucks up water and then shoots laser beams. I was
that's
like,
a high pressure
Godzilla.
water cannon. I know. I thought it was Godzilla too, but yeah, high pressure water cannon that looks like a laser.
It's not a laser?
Mm-mm.
I wanted it to be a laser. That makes sense.
I wanted it to be a laser too.
Yeah.
It's a laser.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's drawn as a laser. It's glowing yellow and everything.
It's coming off its tongue with its mouth open. It's not like it's spitting it out like Squirtle.
It's so fast that it's plasma now, so it can be a laser.
I'm down with that.
I like that. Yeah.
Just like the Kamehameha.
Yeah.
So if you right click on Nessie and look at the description, that's what it says.
That's what it says. That's right. Attacks.
Well, as someone who's been playing Marvel Rivals with you, Jason, I know you don't read the character description.
How dare you assume that? Of course that's true.
The aliens attacked the other two. Oh, and they brought a boxing alien.
Yeah.
He
boxing Kappa.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's funny that they call it the Dover, like he keeps calling it the Dover alien, and the Dover alien is just described as basically like a gray, like a watermelon headed gray. So that's an interesting connection that they're making there.
The subtitle I saw was gig worker. The subtitle called him gig worker.
So gig worker was definitely a term because he often referred to himself as like a working man and a salary man and things like that. But I never heard like Otakun call him a gig worker.
No, I don't think he did. I thought the aliens, or maybe it was just the subtitle said gig workers talking because he was off screen or something. But
Yeah.
I saw the word gig worker. It's what I wrote down for his name. It's
I
just-
think it basically means like mercenary, hired
Right.
hand. Yeah,
Right.
for the aliens.
Even though he talks about Chiquitas.
He says it so fast too. I thought he had a stutter or had some kind of problem.
They have decided that they want Ken's banana because it has Turbo Granny's energy. This leads into a theory they come up later that the aliens want to invade Earth, but the yokai are too powerful for them that inhabit the Earth, and so they can't, and are trying to find ways to up their own spiritual energy so they can take us over.
Which I think is a really cool theory. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's a cool way to. Honestly, when I heard about this, is like, hey, ghosts are real and aliens are real. That's the enemy. And I'm like, those are kind of really distant from each other, concept wise. How are they going to tie them? And the fact that it's like an alien yokai war for control of Earth, and we're kind of caught in the middle. I'm down with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool concept. Even though it doesn't really lean heavily into it at this point. Anyway, we got to get the important thing, which is Ira shows up to save Ken, and she has her own demon transformation now. She turns into a acrobatic Selkie. She also gets the teeth mask. I don't know what that is, but it is cool looking.
It kind of matches him.
Yeah.
It's a teeth mask too.
It reminds me of Bleach. There's a couple characters that get like a bone jaw mask thing going on.
That's very
Reminds me
like
of
that.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. He does get the big shark teeth.
And the chainsaw nose.
He gets a chainsaw nose. Yeah.
So basically the same thing.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Anthropomorphic tool people mask mouth faces things.
Anyway, we get another big battle. Eventually all these groups get together. The Nessie turns the entire school into water, so there's water everywhere. Ken's naked. The other girls have to strip down into their underwear to make them more slippery in the water.
Drag.
Hydrodynamics.
Hydrodynamics.
They want a hydroplane around.
I don't say that one often.
They're riding on Ken's back while Momo squeezes his naked body with her psychic
Like soap.
hands, like soap, to shoot him out. And I'm like, I mean, if you put a propeller or a fan on a sailboat to blow into its own sail, that doesn't work. But you know what? Maybe psychics powers don't follow physics. So that's fine. I don't care.
It works in Wind Waker too, right? Doesn't it?
Probably.
I mean,
anyway, so he becomes like a jet ski that they can ride around in the water.
Breath of the Wild too. That's the one I was thinking of.
The boxer guy gets turned into a shrimp by the aliens. They
use their special proboscis.
They use their special bananas and evolve him. But then
it was gross.
yeah. Then they merge. Well, two of the aliens get killed by Nessie because it's just a wild monster. So they merged Nessie, the last alien, and the mantis boxer all into one creature. They defeat it by Momo removing all the water right as it punches so that it rips its own arms off.
That was one I had a little trouble with. I don't really understand. Like, did she just make her hands really big and then move them apart really fast to get the water?
Like.
She's just displacing the water for a second right when he's thrusting.
Because I can understand how her power is to grab everything, but it's hard to grab water.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think she grabbed it. I think she just made a pocket.
And she has a bubble around her like couple seconds later as she's being put. They start shoving her through the water and she makes a bubble. I think this is her powers getting bigger because she did say now
sealed.
I'm limited to the hands, but I was able to just do anything I imagined when they awakened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Ken does a headbutt and they defeat it. But so I know we've talked about the scene way too much, and tempers were lost, friendships were ended, but I want to bring it back up because I had something to say about it.
And speaking of, can we cut some of that? Because I don't think it all needs to be in there.
All right. Oh, good. Troy will love.
Yes,
Troy's gonna love that he's editing that selectively. I'll do my best. All right. So this shot, she's laying on her back. He's naked, laying on top of her. But we're not having that awkward, oh my God, we're naked. They're literally laying there in bliss. It is explicitly almost like a post-coitus shot of them together on the ground. And I absolutely loved it because they had this big fight. Then they did this big fight, which could be a metaphor for something else. And then them showing them laying together happy. I was like, that is a really cool visual metaphor for a couple making up. And then they end up in the real world and everybody sees them and everyone freaks out. But right. I just love the shot of them laying together, smiling and laughing and being happy together. Yeah, I understand that they are young kids, but again, in the context of everyone's consenting age with each other in the scene, I just thought it was a really cool visual metaphor that I saw.
I didn't catch that, but I caught the joke where she was like, "It feels so good to be back. It's hard. I'm back in the hard." Yeah. I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah. And then they, the whole school sees them. They run off. They end up in the nurse's office. And this is the shot. This character has one scene. She's clearly she's literally holding an S&M whip. It's almost the exact same joke from My Hero Academia with Midnight Hero, the one teacher who's like the S&M sex hero.
Yeah, okay.
It's almost the exact same joke, and it's just out of nowhere. She goes out, and another teacher bumps into her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm whipping you," and he's like, "Oh, I'm a bad boy."
That isn't.
He didn't say that, but it's.
He was like, "I'm a bad teacher," or something like that.
It's S&M. It is explicitly an S&M joke.
I had been making a homemade hamburger, and I'd finally gotten it, and I came back, and I was eating it during this episode. So I may have totally just missed that, and that could be why it didn't really come across. But yeah.
Again, this is where I was drawing comparisons to the. What's it called? I never remember its name.
Yurei Yatsura?
Yeah, that one. Where it's just like a complete. That's why I was like, this is a gag anime because that's such a random out of nowhere,
out of left field,
clearly a joke. I'm like we've had some other gag stuff, but that's when I was like, the banana stuff, everything. This is just a gag anime around a romance, presented as an action horror.
The screaming mannequin is another fantastic gag. Yep.
Yeah. We often complain about pick a lane, your tones are clashing. I didn't get that from here, even though it switches.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Tones here, it does it well. I wish I could explain why this one works and other ones don't, how they do it so well. Maybe it's because of the characters are earnest through the whole thing. We have that central pillar, but
continuity.
Yeah. The characters aren't. But even they get weird. I don't know. It works in this anime, and I love the multi layers, the pickles and peanut butter mixing that just is good anyway.
I think he may have cracked the formula of food after the battle creates the perfect pacing, because people sitting down to eat are going to have a more human reaction to the scenario than if you put them in any other circumstance, right?
And gives it that breadth of okay, so we had an intense action scene, we had some intense stress and emotion. Let's take a breath before we move forward with the anime. And then it usually also follows it up with an emotional scene between the two main characters every time too.
That's true.
Okay, so they beat him, and then we get another dinner. This time is sushi. Oh, also the boxer alien, they find him and he's bleeding white stuff everywhere, and they
this was weird, but it was
they
cool.
bandage him up, and he wakes up and he's so thankful, and he's like, my child is sick. He needs all his blood replaced every day. And my wife died from it, so I have to do jobs, but I suck so bad I can only do terrible jobs. And that's so poor of me. And then Psycho's like, yeah, I've smelled your bandages. I know what you need. And she hands him a carton of milk, and he's like, this is our blood. This is what I need. And he's like, it's a little thin though. She's like, nah, it's it's past. It's
homogenized.
Thank you.
Yes. I was enjoying that.
I knew you do it too.
It's like Bahamut.
Yes.
So she's like, I'll get you a cow. So the next shot is a UFO abducting a cow. And Ken's like, yeah, it's an abduction. Yeah. Ira's like, put the cow down. Get out of here. This is terrible. Everyone's freaking out their own way. And Seiko's like, I don't believe in aliens. That's the kappa.
Yep.
And I love that Momo's like, back me up, Ken, that it's an alien. He's like, actually, people think kappas are aliens. And he's so proud of that fact that he's actually not helping with the argument at all and ignoring the insane. And as someone who loves to explain facts, I feel you, Ken. You're just like, yeah, no, I could help, but also here's a chance to show off my knowledge. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, that he's willing to help them whenever, and the alien flies away.
So I thought it was weird that they only gave him one cow. I know people can only be so generous, but that cow's gonna run out of milk. Why not give 2 or 3 or 4 so they could create a herd?
Maybe he can clone it.
Well, shoot. I did not even think of that.
I don't think his race is the cloning race, but that technology
maybe
might be easier where he's from. They asked for new uniforms to be bought by Psycho, and she's like, yes, not you, Momo. You have to do this horrible impression of this comedy guy I like, which she does. And then the doorbell rings. She's like, nope, you have to answer it in the impression or I don't buy it. And she answers it, and it's Gigi. Gigi enters the anime. This is her old childhood friend. It's the exact same character who made fun of her.
Yeah. That
gave her all her issues with her grandma. I didn't think that would be a callback, and I didn't put it together at first. It wasn't until they showed a shot of him as the child. I was like, oh yeah, that was her first childhood crush. She told us that. Good, solid writing. Your guys' thoughts on Gigi?
Yeah, just kind of an awkward character to throw in right at the end of the anime. But I think his entrance was well written because it was the whole reason he's there is because of the next mission. And he just he throws in this weird wrench that makes everything worse for Ken and Momo and Ken's relationship. I just felt their interactions and his self-doubt and all that just ended up making it more exhausting for me. And then watching him just like blurt out, like trying to overcome. I did like the attempt of I'm going to overcome this scenario because I do like her and I want her attention. And then just blurting out random crap.
Well, he was copying the other guy. It was, yeah.
Well, he did it with much more normal humans.
The scene where Ken just starts doing that weird dance around Gigi, and then Gigi's like, I'm into this, and starts doing it.
I actually made Tanya come over and watch that because I thought it was so funny.
That was a good bit.
Yeah. I thought the train, like them being on the train, was weird. But I think what I liked about it is it's like all of a sudden they're like, are we becoming best friends? And he's like, no, I don't like you, but I do. But I don't. But you're so nice. I did like that dynamic. But
yeah,
besides
that, he's just another reason to make this exhausting.
No. Okay. Again, remember that there is a romance story happening here.
Right.
They have to overcome challenges. The first challenge was a pretty girl who likes Ken. Momo has to get over her own jealousy, especially since she's been had boyfriends in the past who were bad and cheated on her. She has to get past her own insecurity with Ken and get comfortable. They get past.
But they're not even dating yet.
Doesn't matter.
In their minds, they're kind of in that sort of intermediary. Are we not? You know.
Right. And the uncertainty upsets me.
Yeah.
Me and my wife were friends for an entire year of school. It literally wasn't until the last day of school I asked her out. We spent an entire year as close friends that didn't date anyone else. We spent all our time together, but were never an item, despite everyone being like, why are they not dating yet? And I've told that before. It
happens.
Definitely happens.
Yeah.
So to give context, my wife and I, the day we met, we were then married 9 months later.
How long before like we were officially a couple, or considered each other you're a couple, like from when you met?
3 weeks. Because like,
Wow.
yeah, like was it even that long?
How old were you?
23, 22. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember. Yeah, I took her down to the pier in Seattle, and I told her, hey, I'm looking for a long-term relationship to turn into marriage. Are you in?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. See, this is so weird because I was like Troy, but in relationships, I'm more like you because at 23, I met Tanya and we got married 3 months later. And it's been, it'll be 20 years. So...
Yeah, I only have the one relationship story. I met my wife. She was my first girlfriend. We met in high school. We were close friends. I remember I was like, oh, I have really strong feelings for this girl. I want her to go out with me. I bought her a gift. Went to ask her out with the gift, and then the thought hit me. I think I've told this. If I give her this gift, I'm basically bribing her to date me. This is terrible. Here's the gift. I gotta go.
Yes.
And that's something that Ken, I think, would definitely do. Like it totally hits you stuff like that. Yeah. I really I'm gonna go back to Gigi. My biggest complaint was that he was very over the top with his like, hey, pretty girl, and yet everyone was like, I like this. All the side characters are like, this is not weird, this is not over the top, this is charming and it's working. It made sense with like Psycho because he's complimenting her and she's like just soaking up the praise. But the fact that the entire classroom when he gets introduced to the class was into it.
I think it's because
fair enough, fine.
He was. It's like the HR meme where the guy says something to the office lady. She's like, "Oh, thank you," and then another dude that doesn't look as good says the exact same thing.
Yeah,
HR help.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, no, it's the guy's good looking. That's why everyone was charmed.
Yeah,
right. But what I really liked about Gigi is that first he's honest and earnest, but they didn't I thought they were gonna have the scene where he's like, "Hey man, I'm just Momo's friend. I can go for it. I'm gonna support you." He was like, no, I like Momo and I like her more than you, so you need to deal with that. And again, be like, actually, I like her more than you.
Yeah. Rise to the occasion, man.
Not to the point where Gigi was like turning into a villain about it, but that they're not shying away from this struggle. And what I was trying to say to you earlier, Jason, is that if you think of it in terms of a battle anime, it'd be like skipping over a battle and just going up a whole nother power level and not having to face that challenge and overcome it. It's the same thing. We just changed fighting to romance stuff. And yes, that is awkward if that's not your thing, or not entertaining if it's not interesting. But it's all the same thing. A character Ken has to overcome this challenge to become a better version of himself than he was before it.
That's a really great analogy. I think that makes sense. Just doesn't land well with me, but I understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The rest of this, I want to go over the statue. There's not a whole lot. We kind of ended the anime, and everything else is getting set up for season 2. But yeah, so Gigi is moving in mostly because his house has got possessed. He has started seeing spirits, so now he feels really bad about making fun of Momo when they were kids. His parents have gotten sick. They've called in mediums. Out of the 5 they've called, 3 committed suicide. Now no other medium will help. So Psycho has agreed to help by sending Momo to deal with it. He enrolls in their school as a transfer student. And he's just devastated by this. He's jealous. He's feeling terrible, comparing himself to this guy. Momo shows up when he's working out to have lunch with him, and he's also excited about that. But then Gigi walks around the corner and is like, hey, I got Momo this special drink that she likes, and she's all excited about that. And Ken just walks away. But then one of those mannequins that you have in science classes that's like a half a person and then the other half's their insides, starts running right at Ken. He freaks out. It runs past him. Momo's getting ready to stop it, but Gigi tackles her, and she sees as it jumps over something shiny and gold underneath it. So they're like, oh, he's got the ball. That's why this statue has come to life. So she grabs onto it and is pulled after. Ken chases after them in his demon form, yokai form. They have this big chase. It ends up he's just trying to get to the garbage dump because they threw out the old model that's no longer correct, and it's female. It's female. Oh, no. And he loves it, and they're in love, and he wants to. It never explains why they're alive or at all, but he's there.
Or why everyone else can see them, because there's kids that are in the school and they're like, we're gonna go find a Ouija board.
These are physical things happening that are real. Psycho agrees to let the female model stay at her house so that the man model, even though he's going to keep working at school, he's got a job to do. He's going to come visit every night. We see the first night he comes to visit, he gets hit by a car, and it's like doing this like tragic love story build up, and then he ends up, because he can reassemble himself, he shows up.
Oh god, just the fact that as they were chasing him and he disintegrated, and she managed to snatch his heart and just starts wailing on it in order to make him scream. Where he went. Oh, it was killing me.
This Great scene character. Though, the purpose in the story for this scene is that when Ken sees the mannequin confessing his love, he recognizes his own feelings in watching this for Momo, and this is where he has become aware, I now have feelings for her. Then we have some more dinner interactions, awkwardness. Ken's trying to assert his dominance in a very awkward, doesn't make sense kind of way. But he does get invited to go along on the mission. The 3 go to the town. When they get there, Momo doesn't see any spirits in the house, so she goes to hit the hot spring. She's out of here. The 2 guys play some soccer together. This is where they have that conversation. Actually, I like her, and I like her more than you. But Ken notices the house is bigger outside than it was inside. There's a whole section of the house that's just not there. So they go inside and bust open the wall, and there's all these talismans on the wall of inside this dark room. Meanwhile, Momo has these creepy looking guys enter the shared bath that she wasn't aware of. I really hope gators aren't a real thing, but I'm assuming they are.
I bet they are.
That's terrible. And she is assaulted, and that is where the anime ends its first season. Season 2 was already. We
should mention that all these guys look like they're possessed.
Yeah, or
the townspeople.
Yeah, they have the big smiles of
the
aliens.
Undead.
Yeah, they could be.
But they're definitely not normal looking guys. Their eyes are glowing.
Makes me wonder. Yeah, and it makes me wonder what happened to his parents, because he talks about them like they're sick and everything, but I kind of wonder if they're under the same spell that the rest of the townspeople are here, and they're behaving the same way, and he's just calling it sick or something.
But again, not much plot here other than setting up for season 2. And that's where we leave off. That season 2 has already been announced. Trailers come out, is definitely on its way. This is Netflix biggest anime hit I think they've had yet. So I'm sure there's more to come for other people. And, when I got done though, I was thinking, am I going to keep watching this on my own? I probably will, especially with my daughter, because she's really into it. If I ended up missing it though, I probably wouldn't freak out. So I guess that's more for final reviews. Let's go to final reviews then. Jason, you go first. I want to hear your glowing praise first.
I'm docking 4 points because it left on this cliffhanger. I can't believe they pushed this girl underwater and then they're like, okay, we'll see you next season.
Yeah. It would have been a 5.
I take umbrage with that, sir.
I'm totally kidding about the knocking points, but those kind of cliffhangers upset me every anime that does that.
I was irritated too.
I mean, okay, I know we just talked about this, but guys, do you not remember Lost? Like, cliffhangers.
I didn't like it then.
How long do I have to wait?
A whole season.
That's not cool. If you're gonna do something like this, it should be, a week or a month. But finish your storyline. Like, finish this arc. Then turn.
Cliffhangers exist for a reason.
Okay, opening the wall and leaving that as the cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
End it there. Fine. But no, we're going to end on an attack.
Mm-hmm.
5 old dudes in a hot spring holding down a 15-year-old girl underwater.
Underwater, yeah.
And then we're just going to cut? What? That's extreme. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right. I don't agree.
Anyways, there's a lot of storytelling that doesn't hit well with me, but hits well with others. The animation is fantastic, and the voice acting is great. I thought this didn't land with me. But there was some entertainment value out of it. I give it a 3.
Has that number become notorious because of me? Did I do something terrible to this podcast?
It's fine. It'll be a 3. It's fine.
Well, it's called I had some things on the con side and the things on the pro side, and they roughly evened out. Therefore, it would be in the middle. And what's in the middle of 1 to 5? It's a 3. Keep that in mind, Troy.
You're acting like a 3 is a punishment for an anime.
No, it's middle of the road for me. It didn't land well, but I mean, it wasn't terrible.
What did I give a 3 to? Darker Than
Black?
No,
you gave a 2 to. That's something that you said was middle of the road.
It was a 3.
Jeremy, correct him.
I remember both, where you gave something a 3 when it was actually better than a 3, and you gave it a 2 when you said you were going to give it a 3.
You're like, this is very middle of the road. I'm going to give it a 2. I was like, are you kidding?
But I think it's terminology.
I don't remember any of this.
Of course you don't. That's so strange.
It didn't happen. I know Suicide Squad Isekai was in there somewhere.
Yeah, I gave that a 3.
Yep. When it deserved a 2. But this anime
2 was generous.
Yeah. But this anime, I want to give it a 5. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was hysterical. I thought it was energetic. I love the character designs almost across the board. It had moments where it reminded me of Gantz, where you would have these really unsettling but familiar aliens show up, like the sumo wrestler, and environments that were just kind of imposed on them, almost like another dimension or something, which happened with the sumo wrestler again, but also with the school when they were put into the water environment. Love that kind of stuff. That is my jam. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I definitely want to watch the second half of the season when it comes out. Great anime.
Yeah, the debate I've been having since I watched it is, do I want more? I think I do, mostly just for the Momo and Ken dynamic, where everything else is like frosting on top. It's not like I don't not looking forward to the new next battles or anything. But again, I'm not loving it. I'll go 4.5. 4.5.
Wait, that's a rule. We don't do points. Is it a 5 or a 4 or 3? Where is it?
No, I'll go 5.
Oh, that's right. Rules don't matter to Troy.
Rules matter to me the most. Remember?
No,
I make them up when they don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, because if it's rules free, I guess rules do apply.
Speaking of needs for rules, hey, let's the next anime we're watching is the most notorious talker runs the world's greatest. Hold on, have to scroll over. Clan.
Remember my hot take, by the way.
We're gonna don't say that and then also pick it. All right, I gave the anime a 5. Jeremy, just so he knows. Lock it in. All right. If you have thoughts on Dandadan, we would love to hear them. Feel free to reach out to us on our website, theanimebakaclub.com. Hit the contact us button and let us know what you thought of this anime, our thoughts, your thoughts, all that stuff, theories. Let's go. We're all caught up on the anime. We have not read any of the manga. Nor will we be. You can also reach us on Twitter at Baka Podcast or wherever you found this podcast. Yeah, wherever you found the podcast. Leave likes and reviews and bells and notifications. And hit that subscribe button.
Wow, we do this all the time. We are so professional.
Down to an art.
And it's never not felt dirty.
Ever.
Yeah. I don't know how other YouTubers do it. It's just like, here's my soul, take a piece. Anyway, let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.